Hey there, folks. Thanks for joining me today as we dive into a tale that's equal parts heart-pounding and heartwarming. A story I'm calling The Battle for Willow Creek. Picture a quiet man fighting to save his family's cherished land from a greedy corporation, using nothing but grit, smarts, and a little help from his neighbors. It's a saga of land, loyalty, and the kind of stubborn hope that turns underdogs into legends. So, grab a coffee, settle in, and let's step into a morning that started like any other, but ended with a war nobody saw coming. It was a Tuesday, the kind of early summer day where the air smells like fresh grass and possibility. I woke up to the sound of Willow Creek gurgling behind my house, a ribbon of clear water that's been in my family for 3 generations. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and that creek isn't just a backyard feature, it's our history. My granddad built this cabin with his own hands, my dad taught me to fish in those waters, and now I'm passing the same lessons to my daughter, Lily. That morning, I was planning to take her out to skip stones across the creek's glassy surface, maybe teach her how to spot the best flat rocks. The sun was just peeking over the pines, painting the water gold, and I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when I heard it. A low, mechanical growl, like a truck chewing gravel. It wasn't coming from the county road a half-mile off. It was closer. Too close. I stepped onto the porch, Lily trailing behind in her pajamas, her eyes wide with curiosity. "What's that, Dad?" she asked, clutching her stuffed turtle. I didn't answer right away. My gut was already twisting. The sound grew louder, and I followed it, barefoot, down the dirt path that hugs the creek. About 100 yards from the house, where the path curves toward the old willow tree my dad planted, I stopped dead. There, gleaming in the morning light, was a wall. Not a fence, mind you, but a wall 6 feet high, made of stacked gray stones, each one the size of a microwave. It stretched across the path, blocking our access to the creek's widest bend, where we fish, swim, and sometimes just sit to think. A shiny metal sign was bolted to the stone, its words like a slap: private property. Vanguard Estates Development. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. I blinked, thinking maybe I was still half asleep. Lily tugged at my sleeve. "Who put that there, Dad?" "That's our creek." Her voice was small, confused, and it lit a fire in me. This wasn't just a wall. It was an invasion. I knelt down, forced a smile, and said, "Don't worry, kiddo. Probably just a mix-up. We'll sort it out." But I knew better. This was no mistake. The precision of those stones, the professional sheen of that sign, it screamed money, power, and intent. I sent Lily back to the house to get ready for school, then grabbed my phone and started snapping pictures. The wall wasn't just on my land. It cut through a public access trail that locals had used for decades to reach the creek. Whoever did this wasn't just coming for me. They were coming for all of us. I drove Lily to school, my mind racing. Vanguard Estates wasn't a name I recognized, but it had the stink of corporate greed. Back home, I dug through the county website, looking for permits or notices. Nothing. No public announcements, no construction filings, no warnings. Just a wall that appeared overnight, like some fairy tale curse. I called my buddy Travis, who runs a hardware store in town and knows every rumor within a 50-mile radius. "Vanguard," he said, whistling low. "Heard there's some big-shot developers from the city. Word is they're sniffing around for land to build a fancy resort. Gated community, golf course, the works. Didn't think they'd start with your creek, though." My creek. The words hit hard. This wasn't just about a path or a fishing spot. This was about my family's legacy, Lily's future, and every memory tied to that water. By noon, I was back at the wall, this time with a tape measure and a notebook. The structure was solid, built to last, with concrete footings sunk deep into the earth. It stretched 50 feet across, blocking not just my path, but the public trail that ran parallel. I noticed tire tracks in the mud, heavy ones, probably from a backhoe or a flatbed truck. They'd worked fast, likely under cover of night. I was scribbling notes when a black SUV rolled up, its tinted windows reflecting the sun like a warning. The driver's door opened, and out stepped a man in a tailored suit, his hair slicked back, his smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Mr. Caldwell, I presume," he said, extending a hand I didn't take. "James Whitaker, project manager for Vanguard Estates. I see you found our new boundary marker." "Boundary marker?" I said, my voice low but tight. "This is my land. My family's had it for 60 years. You can't just show up and build a wall." Whitaker's smile didn't budge. "I understand your confusion," he said, pulling a tablet from his bag. "But Vanguard legally acquired a portion of the adjacent land, including the access strip to Willow Creek. This wall ensures our property is secure while we begin development. I'm sure we can work out an arrangement, perhaps a pass for limited access, with proper documentation. His tone was smooth, practiced, like he'd rehearsed this speech 100 times. I stepped closer, close enough to see the faint sweat on his brow despite the cool air. "You're telling me you bought my creek?" I said. "Show me the deed." Whitaker tapped his tablet, pulling up a digital map with red lines slicing through the land like surgical cuts. "Not the creek itself," he clarified. "Just the easement leading to it. A small but critical parcel. We purchased it from the county last month. Perfectly legal." I felt my jaw clench. The county? The same county that sent me tax bills for every square inch of my property? Something wasn't right. "I wasn't notified," I said. "No one was. You don't just carve up public land without a hearing." Whitaker's smile tightened, just a fraction. "I suggest you take it up with the county clerk," he said. "In the meantime, I'd advise against tampering with our property. We have cameras." He pointed to a small black dome mounted on the wall, its lens glinting like an unblinking eye. I drove straight to the county office, my truck rattling over potholes as my mind churned. The clerk, a tired woman named Marla who'd worked there since I was a kid, looked puzzled when I showed her the photos. "Vanguard Estates?" she said, frowning at her computer. "I don't have any record of a sale for Willow Creek access. Public land sales require a hearing, notices in the paper, the works. Let me pull the files." She disappeared into a back room, leaving me to stew. Whitaker's confidence, that damn wall, the camera, it all screamed money and influence. But I wasn't about to let some city suit steal what was mine. Not without a fight. Marla returned, her face grim. "Ethan," she said, holding a thin folder. "You're not gonna like this." Marla slid the folder across the counter, her eyes heavy with the kind of exhaustion that comes from years of untangling bureaucratic messes. I opened it, expecting a clear answer, a deed, a contract, something to explain how Vanguard Estates had sunk their claws into my creek. Instead, I found a single page, a photocopied memorandum from a county board meeting dated 6 weeks ago. It referenced a land transfer for a parcel near Willow Creek, approved in a closed session. No public notice, no signatures, just a vague reference to economic development incentives. My stomach churned. This wasn't just a sale. It was a backroom deal, the kind that smells like greased palms and whispered promises. "Closed session," I said, my voice sharper than I meant. "Since when does the county sell public land without telling anyone?" Marla sighed, pushing her glasses up her nose. "Since someone with enough pull says it's urgent. I don't have the full file, someone checked it out last week. But I can tell you Vanguard's name isn't on this. The buyer's listed as Crestview Holdings, a shell company. I'd bet my pension it's a front." I drove home with that folder burning a hole in the passenger seat. Crestview Holdings? I'd never heard of it, but the name alone screamed corporate sleaze. My mind raced, piecing together Whitaker's smug grin, the wall's overnight construction, and now this shadowy deal. They weren't just after my creek, they were rewriting the rules to take it. Back at the cabin, I poured another coffee, though my hands were already jittery. Lily was at school, but I could still hear her voice from that morning. That's our creek. I wasn't just fighting for me. I was fighting for her, for every stone-skipping lesson we'd have, for the stories she'd tell her own kids someday. I fired up my laptop and started digging. Google gave me nothing on Crestview Holdings beyond a generic website with stock photos of smiling executives and buzzwords like sustainable growth. But I wasn't a tech novice. I'd spent years tinkering with home security systems, wiring cameras, even building a basic drone for fun. If Vanguard thought they could hide behind a shell company, they'd underestimated me. I logged into a public records database I'd used years ago to settle a property line dispute with a neighbor. It was slow, clunky, but it had raw data, deeds, liens, corporate filings. After an hour, I hit gold. Crestview Holdings was registered in Delaware, a state notorious for shielding corporate secrets. But a cross-reference with county tax records showed a payment trail linking Crestview to Vanguard's parent company, Pinnacle Development Group. The transfer of the creek's access strip had been buried in a larger deal, bundled with other county parcels to avoid scrutiny. The price? A laughable $12,000 for land that anchored a pristine waterway. It was a steal, and not the legal kind. I printed everything, my printer wheezing like it knew the fight ahead. But something else gnawed at me. Why the rush? Why build a wall overnight? They weren't just planning a resort. They were scared of something or someone. That evening, I called my sister, Claire, who lived an hour away and worked as a paralegal. She was the family's unofficial detective with a knack for sniffing out lies. I sent her the documents, and within minutes, she was on the phone, her voice crackling with excitement. Ethan, this is dirty. Closed sessions are for emergencies, not land sales. And there's no way the county board approved this without a paper trail. Someone's covering tracks. She paused, then added, You need to talk to old man Jenkins. He's been on the county board forever. If anyone knows what's up, it's him. Jenkins was a local legend, a grizzled retiree who'd served as a county commissioner for decades. He was also notoriously hard to reach, living off-grid in a cabin 10 miles out. But Claire was right. If Vanguard had bought off the county, Jenkins would know. The next morning, I drove to Jenkins' place, a bumpy ride through pine forest and dirt roads. His cabin was more shack than house, with a rusted truck out front and a dog that barked like it was auditioning for a horror movie. Jenkins answered the door in overalls, his white beard stained with coffee. Caldwell? Huh. He grunted, eyeing me like I was selling vacuums. Heard about your wall. What's it to me? I laid out the story, the wall, the memorandum, Crestview Holdings. His eyes narrowed when I mentioned the closed session. Those bastards, he muttered, inviting me in. His kitchen smelled of wood smoke and bacon. He poured me a mug of coffee strong enough to wake a coma patient and sat down, his chair creaking under his weight. Board's been cozy with Pinnacle for years, he said. They've been eyeing Willow Creek since the last drought, when water rights got tight. Your land's the key. That creek's got clean water, and they want it for their golf course and fancy fountains. I felt a chill, despite the coffee's heat. This wasn't just about an access strip. It was about controlling the creek itself, turning a natural treasure into a corporate playground. Jenkins leaned forward, his voice low. They got Councilman Reed in their pocket. He pushed the sale through, probably for a fat check. But there's a catch. Public land sales need a 30-day appeal period. If you can prove the deal was shady, you can stop it. He scribbled a name on a napkin, Margaret Tate, a retired judge who'd written the county's land use laws. She'll know how to fight this. But watch your back, son. Pinnacle doesn't play nice. I left Jenkins' cabin with a spark of hope and a knot of dread. This was bigger than a wall. It was a heist, and I was standing in the vault. Back home, I found Lily sitting on the porch, sketching the creek from memory. Her drawing was all blues and greens, with stick figure versions of us fishing. When can we go back, Dad? She asked, her voice heavy. I hugged her, promising we'd fix it. But inside, I was reeling. Vanguard's wall wasn't just a barrier, it was a declaration of war. And I wasn't about to let them win. I called Margaret Tate's number, left a voicemail, and started planning my next move. If Vanguard thought they could bury me in paperwork and stone, they were about to learn what a Caldwell could do with a printer, a drone, and a whole lot of stubborn. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the creek when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, thinking it was another robocall about car warranties, but something made me pick up. Mr. Caldwell, came Whitaker's voice, smooth as oil but with a bite. We need to meet. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., at the wall. Bring your concerns. I'm sure we can find a mutually beneficial solution. His tone was all corporate polish, but I caught the undercurrent: control, not compromise. I agreed, hung up, and spent the night pacing. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a trap, and I needed to be ready. The next morning, I parked my truck 100 yards from the wall, early enough to scope the scene. The air was crisp, the creek's soft ripple a stark contrast to the stone barrier looming ahead. I brought a folder of printouts, Jenkins' napkin, Marla's memorandum, my own notes, and a small recorder tucked in my jacket. If Whitaker was playing dirty, I'd have proof. At exactly 10 a.m., his SUV rolled up, followed by a second vehicle, a sleek sedan with a man in a hard hat stepping out. Whitaker emerged, his suit pristine despite the dusty trail. The hard hat guy stayed back, scribbling on a clipboard, but his presence felt like a prop, a way to make this look official. Ethan, Whitaker said, dropping the formalities with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Let's talk. He gestured to the wall like it was a showroom model. This is about progress, he began. Vanguard Estates will bring jobs, tourism, revenue. Willow Creek is a gem, and we're polishing it for everyone. I cut him off. By blocking public access? By stealing land in a secret deal? His smile flickered, but he recovered fast. No theft here. The county sold us the easement, fair and square. You're welcome to verify it. I held up the memorandum. Closed session, no public notice, a shell company? That's not fair. That's corruption. Whitaker's eyes narrowed, but he kept his cool, stepping closer like we were old pals. You're a family man, Ethan. I get it. You love this creek. So let's make a deal. Sign over your adjacent parcel. Your land's not even half an acre, and we'll grant you lifetime access. You keep fishing, your kid keeps playing, and you get a nice payout. 6 figures. Think about it. 6 figures. The number hung in the air like a bribe wrapped in velvet. For a second, I saw it. Lily's college fund, a new truck, Claire's dream of opening a bakery. But then I saw my dad's face, weathered and proud, teaching me to cast a line. I saw Lily's sketch, her stick-figure family by the creek. This wasn't about money. It was about roots. No deal, I said, my voice steady. This land's not for sale, and neither am I. Whitaker's mask slipped, just for a moment, his jaw tightening. You're making a mistake, he said, his voice low. Pinnacle doesn't lose. We're building a future here, and you're either with us or in the way. The hard hat guy glanced up, like he was waiting for a signal. I felt the recorder in my pocket, its tiny red light my only backup. Threats don't scare me, I said. But you should be scared. I'm not alone in this. Whitaker laughed, a hollow sound. Alone? You think a few locals with pitchforks can stop progress? File your complaints, Ethan. Call your lawyers. We've got better ones. He turned to leave, but I wasn't done. One question, I called. Why the rush? Why build a wall overnight? What are you hiding? He froze, just for a second, then kept walking. Enjoy your creek while it lasts, he said over his shoulder. The SUV's door slammed, and they were gone, leaving dust swirling in the air. I stood there, heart pounding, the recorder still running. His words echoed, enjoy it while it lasts. This wasn't just a land grab. They were planning something bigger, and I was the only thing standing in their way. That night, I played the recording for Claire over dinner. She listened, her fork hovering midair, her paralegal brain already dissecting every word. He's cocky, she said. But that pause when you asked about the rush? He's hiding something. We need Margaret Tate. She'll know how to crack this. I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. Whitaker's threat wasn't empty. Pinnacle had money, lawyers, maybe even the county board. I was one guy with a cabin, a kid, and a creek. Doubt crept in, cold and heavy. What if I lost? What if Lily grew up hearing stories of a creek she could never touch? I pushed the thought away, focusing on Claire's plan. We'd meet Tate tomorrow, but I needed more than legal advice. I needed allies. The next day, I stopped by Travis' hardware store, hoping to tap into the town's gossip network. The bell jingled as I walked in, and Travis looked up from a stack of paint cans. Heard you met the suit, he said, grinning. Words spreading, Ethan. People are pissed about that wall. I told him about Whitaker's offer, the threat, the memorandum. His grin faded. Pinnacle's been sniffing around for years, he said. Tried to buy my uncle's farm last year. Offered him a fortune, but when he said no, they sent inspectors to harass him. Found code violations that cost him thousands. They played dirty. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. But you've got something they don't. This town. Folks here love Willow Creek. Start talking, Ethan. Get M riled up. His words lit a spark. I wasn't alone. I had a community, and Vanguard was about to learn what happens when you mess with a small town's heart. Travis' words stuck with me as I drove to meet Margaret Tate, a retired judge who'd written the county's land use laws back when typewriters were cutting edge. Her house was a modest bungalow on the edge of town, surrounded by wildflowers and a picket fence that leaned like it was tired of standing. I knocked, clutching my folder of evidence, my nerves buzzing. The door opened, and there she was, petite, silver-haired, with eyes sharp enough to cut through lies. You're the creek guy, she said, not a question, and waved me in. Her living room smelled of lavender and old books, with legal tomes stacked on every surface. I laid out the story, the wall, Whitaker's threat, the shady memorandum. She listened, flipping through my printouts, her face unreadable. When I finished, she leaned back, tapping a pen against her chin. This is a mess, she said. But it's a winnable mess. The county broke its own rules. No public notice, no appeal period. That's a violation of state law. You've got a case, but you'll need more than papers. You'll need people. People. The word echoed Travis' advice. Tate explained that public pressure could force the county to investigate, maybe even reverse the sale. Pinnacle's banking on you staying quiet, she said. They want this done before anyone notices. Start a petition, hold a meeting, get loud. I'll draft a legal challenge, but you need to rally the town. Her confidence was contagious, but doubts still lingered. Could I really take on a corporate giant? Tate seemed to sense it. You're not the first to fight a bully, she said, her voice softening. I fought developers in the 80s to save this town's wetlands. We won because we didn't quit. You won't either. She handed me a list of contacts, local activists, a reporter, even a professor who studied water rights. Start here, she said, and watch your land. They'll try to scare you next. Her warning proved prophetic. That night, I woke to a crash outside, like glass shattering on gravel. My heart leapt. Lily was asleep, her door closed, but I grabbed a flashlight and my old baseball bat, creeping onto the porch. The air was still, the creek's ripple the only sound. Then I saw it, my truck's rear windshield, smashed to pieces, glass glittering on the dirt. A brick lay nearby, with a note taped to it. Back off or lose more. My blood ran cold, then hot. This wasn't Whitaker's polished threats. This was thuggery. I scanned the darkness, bat raised, but whoever did it was gone. I called the sheriff, who sent a deputy named Ortiz, a no-nonsense guy who'd grown up fishing at Willow Creek. He took photos, bagged the brick, and shook his head. Pinnacle's got deep pockets, he said. But this is stupid. They just gave you evidence. His words steadied me. They were scared, sloppy. I wasn't backing down. The next morning, I installed 2 security cameras, motion-activated, cloud-backed, hidden in the trees. If Vanguard tried again, I'd catch them. Then I followed Tate's advice, starting with her contact list. First was Sarah Nguyen, a local activist who ran an environmental group. We met at a diner, her laptop covered in stickers about saving rivers. Willow Creek's a keystone ecosystem, she said, her eyes lighting up. Turtles, fish, even rare plants. If Pinnacle builds, they'll destroy it. I'm in. She promised to organize a petition and a town hall. Next, I called Ben Carter, a reporter for the county paper. He was skeptical until I sent him the memorandum and the brick photo. This is front-page stuff, he said. Give me a quote. I did. Willow Creek belongs to the people, not Pinnacle's profits. By evening, Sarah had a petition online, and Ben's article was trending locally. The town was waking up, but not everyone was on board. At the grocery store, I ran into Pete Larson, a mechanic who'd lived here forever. Heard about your fight, he said, his tone guarded. Pinnacle's promising jobs. A resort could put us on the map. You sure you're not just being selfish? His words stung, like a slap from a friend. I explained the creek's history, the shady deal, but Pete shrugged. Progress, man. You can't stop it. Driving home, I felt the weight of division. Not everyone saw the creek as I did. Some saw dollar signs, and Pinnacle would exploit that. I told Lily about it over dinner, keeping the brick incident quiet to avoid scaring her. Why don't they get it, Dad? She asked, her fork poking at her peas. It's our home. I hugged her, but Pete's words echoed. Was I fighting a losing battle? That night, I got a call from Sarah. Town hall's set for Friday, she said. We've got 50 sign-ups already. Oh, and check the petition, 200 signatures. I opened my laptop, and there it was. Save Willow Creek from corporate greed. Comments poured in, from old-timers who'd fished there as kids to new residents who loved the trails. One stood out. Asterisk, my mom proposed to my dad by that creek. Don't let it die. Asterisk, I read it to Lily, and she grinned. See, Dad? It's not just us. She was right. This was bigger than my cabin, my family. It was about a town, a legacy, and a fight worth having. I went to bed with a plan. Cameras on, petition growing, town hall looming. Pinnacle had thrown the first punch, but I was ready to hit back. The town hall was 3 days away, and I could feel the momentum building like a storm rolling in. Sarah's petition had hit 500 signatures, and Ben's article was circulating on social media, with locals tagging it alongside photos of Willow Creek. Kids splashing, couples picnicking, even a turtle sunning on a rock. But I knew Pinnacle wouldn't sit idle. The brick through my windshield was a warning, and I wasn't about to wait for their next move. I needed eyes on the wall, on my land, on the creek itself. That's where my old drone came in. I'd built it 2 years ago from a kit, mostly for fun, but it had a decent camera and a 30-minute battery. Time to put it to work. I spent the morning rigging the drone with a new memory card and testing its range. It could cover the creek, the wall, and the public trail, giving me a bird's-eye view of anything suspicious. I launched it from my backyard, the hum of its propellers cutting through the quiet. The feed streamed to my laptop, showing the creek's sparkling water, the wall's cold stone, And, wait, a group of men in hard hats near the wall, measuring something with a laser tool. My pulse quickened. I zoomed in, capturing their faces, their Vanguard logos clear on their vests. They weren't just inspecting. They were planning, marking spots like they were ready to expand. I saved the footage, time-stamped it, and sent it to Sarah and Ben. "They're moving fast," I texted. Sarah replied instantly. "This is gold. Bring it to the town hall." But I didn't stop there. I posted a clip online, anonymized to avoid tipping off Pinnacle, with a caption, "Who's building on public land without permits?" The post spread like wildfire, racking up shares and angry comments. "That's our creek," one user wrote. Another tagged the county. "Do your job." By evening, the video had 10,000 views, and Pinnacle's name was trending locally. I felt a rush, part adrenaline, part fear. I was poking a bear, but it was working. The town was riled, just like Travis said. Still, I couldn't shake the unease. Pinnacle had cameras, money, maybe even spies. I checked my security cams, half expecting to see another brick thrower. Nothing yet, but I wasn't taking chances. The next day, I met Sarah at her office, a cramped room above the diner filled with maps and protest signs. She was editing the drone footage, splicing it with photos of the creek's wildlife. "This'll hit hard at the town hall," she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "But we need to be careful. Pinnacle's got PR people. They'll spin this as economic growth or call you a troublemaker." She was right. Pete's words at the grocery store still stung. Some locals were swayed by Pinnacle's promises. I needed to show the town what was at stake, not just for me but for everyone. Sarah suggested a live stream during the town hall, letting people join remotely. "Make it personal," she said. "Tell your story." Lily's story. The thought of putting my daughter in the spotlight made my chest tighten, but I nodded. This was bigger than my comfort zone. That night, I sat with Lily on the porch, the creek's soft gurgle a reminder of why I was fighting. I told her about the town hall, the drone, the petition. Her eyes lit up. "Can I come, Dad? I want to tell them about the turtles." I hesitated. She was only 10, too young for corporate battles. But her passion, her love for the creek, it was pure, untainted by the cynicism I felt creeping in. "You can help," I said. "Draw a picture for the meeting. Show them what the creek means to you." She ran inside, grabbing her crayons, and I watched her sketch, her tongue poking out in concentration. For a moment, the weight lifted. This was why I couldn't quit. The morning of the town hall, I checked the drone footage again and found something new, a delivery truck unloading chain-link fencing near the wall. No permits, no notices, just more barriers. I recorded it, my anger flaring. Pinnacle wasn't slowing down, they were doubling down. I uploaded the clip, and by noon, it had 20,000 views. Comments poured in. "Shame on Vanguard. Save our creek." But one stood out. Anonymous, *careful, Caldwell. "You're not as safe as you think." My stomach dropped. Was this Pinnacle? A hired goon? I forwarded it to Deputy Ortiz, who promised to patrol my road. "Keep your cameras on," he said. "And don't go near that wall alone." His warning echoed Tate's. "They'll try to scare you." I wasn't scared yet, but I was close. The town hall was packed, standing room only, with faces I knew and some I didn't. Sarah's petition had 800 signatures, and Ben's article was taped to the walls. I stood at the front, Lily's drawing in my hand, a colorful scene of turtles and fish, with "Save Willow Creek" in wobbly letters. As I started to speak, my voice shook, but the crowd's nods, their murmurs of support, steadied me. I told them about my granddad, the wall, the brick, the drone footage. I held up Lily's drawing, and a few people clapped. "This isn't just my fight," I said. "It's ours." The room erupted, and I knew we had a chance. But Pinnacle was watching, and I could feel their next move coming, sharp and cold like a blade in the dark. The town hall left me buzzing, like I downed a triple espresso. The crowd's energy, Lily's drawing pinned to the community board, Sarah's live stream hitting thousands of views. It felt like we were winning. But victory's a tricky thing. It makes you cocky, and cocky gets you caught. That night, I couldn't sleep, my mind replaying Whitaker's threat. Enjoy it while it lasts. I checked the security cams obsessively, the grainy feed showing nothing but moonlight on the creek. Around 2 a.m., my phone pinged, a motion alert from the camera near the wall. I bolted upright, heart hammering, and opened the app. There, in black and white night vision, were two figures in hoodies, creeping along the wall with a crowbar and a can of spray paint. My blood boiled. They were back, and this time, they weren't throwing bricks. I grabbed my flashlight and phone, debating whether to call Ortiz. But by the time he got here, they'd be gone. I needed evidence now. I slipped on boots, left a note for Lily in case she woke up, and crept outside, staying low. The air was chilly, the creek's ripple drowned out by my pulse. I stayed in the shadows, moving toward the wall, my phone recording. The figures were spraying something on the stone, big, ugly letters. I zoomed in, Caldwell equals trespasser. My jaw clenched. They were painting me as the villain, trying to turn the town against me. One of them raised the crowbar, aiming for the camera dome. I acted fast, flipping on the flashlight and shouting, "Smile for the footage." They froze, then bolted, dropping the spray can as they vanished into the trees. I didn't chase them. I had what I needed. Back home, I uploaded the video to my cloud drive and sent it to Ortiz, Sarah, and Ben. By morning, Ortiz was at my door, his cruiser parked crooked like he'd sped over. "Amateurs," he said, inspecting the spray can. "No prints, but we'll run the serial number. You're lucky they didn't do worse." I showed him the footage, and he shook his head. "Pinnacle's desperate. They know the town's turning on them." He promised extra patrols, but his tone was grim. "Ethan, these guys aren't locals. They're hired muscle. Be careful." His words sank in, heavy as the brick from before. This wasn't just a land dispute anymore. It was personal, and Pinnacle was playing for keeps. I spent the day cleaning the graffiti, the paint's chemical stink burning my nose. Lily watched from the porch, her face pale. "Why do they hate us, Dad?" she asked. I knelt beside her, forcing a smile. "They don't hate us, kiddo. They're scared because we're fighting back." But her question lingered, stirring doubts I couldn't shake. Was I putting her in danger? Should I take Whitaker's money and walk away? I pushed the thoughts down, focusing on the next step. Sarah called, her voice electric. "The video's viral, Ethan. 20,000 views, and people are livid. We're planning a protest at the wall tomorrow. You in?" I hesitated, thinking of Lily, the crowbar, the anonymous threat online. But backing out now would hand Pinnacle the win. "I'm in," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. The protest was chaotic, 100 people with signs reading "Save Willow Creek" and "Stop Corporate Greed." Sarah led chants, Ben live-streamed, and Lily held her drawing like a shield. I spoke, my voice hoarse from nerves, telling the crowd about the graffiti, the brick, the secret deal. They roared, their anger a living thing. But across the wall, I saw Whitaker's SUV, his silhouette watching from inside. He didn't approach, didn't speak, but his presence was a taunt. That night, I checked the cams again and found something new, a small device taped to the wall's base, blinking red. A tracker? A bug? I called Travis, who'd done some electrician work for the county. He came over, his toolbox clanking, and pried it off. "Cheap GPS," he said. "They're watching your moves." My skin crawled. Pinnacle wasn't just fighting in the open. They were stalking me. I sent the device to Ortiz, who added it to the case file. "This is escalation," he said. "I'm pushing for a warrant to search Pinnacle's local office." His support was a lifeline, but I felt exposed, like eyes were on me from every shadow. Claire came over, her paralegal instincts in overdrive. "We need to hit them where it hurts," she said. "Their reputation. Keep posting, keep protesting, but stay safe. Get a dog, Ethan. Something big." I laughed, but she was serious. The next day, I adopted a mutt from the shelter, a shaggy beast named Rusty with a bark like thunder. Lily loved him, and I slept better knowing he'd raise hell if anyone got close. But the fight was far from over. Pinnacle's next move was coming, and I had a feeling it would hit harder than a brick or a crowbar. The protest had shaken Pinnacle, but it left me rattled too. The GPS tracker, the graffiti, the hooded figures, they were burrowing into my head, turning every creak of the cabin into a threat. I barely slept, my dreams a jumble of stone walls and Whitaker's smirk. Lily noticed, her eyes searching mine at breakfast. "You okay, Dad?" she asked, her spoon stirring cereal she wasn't eating. I lied, said I was fine, but the truth was heavier. I was fighting for her future, but what if the cost was her safety? Rusty's presence helped, his bulk sprawled across the porch like a furry sentinel, but even he couldn't guard my mind. I needed to regroup, to find the fire that had driven me to face Whitaker at the wall. I took a walk along the creek, away from the wall's shadow, where the water ran shallow and clear. I sat under the old willow, its branches drooping like a curtain. This was where my dad taught me to tie a fishing knot, his hands steady despite years of hard labor. "Land's more than dirt," he'd said. "It's memory, Ethan. You lose it, you lose yourself." His words hit me now, sharp and true. I wasn't just fighting Pinnacle. I was fighting for him, for every moment this creek held. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos, Lily giggling in the water, my parents' wedding by the Willow, me as a kid with a too big fishing rod. The memories anchored me, but they also hurt. What if I failed? What if Pinnacle bulldozed it all? Claire called, snapping me out of it. Tate's got a draft for the legal challenge, she said. It's solid, claims the county violated public trust laws. But we need more evidence of corruption. Any luck with Jenkins? I told her about the GPS tracker and the protest. She whistled. They're panicking. Keep the pressure on. But Ethan, take a breath. You sound like you're carrying the world. She was right. I was fraying, and Pinnacle was counting on it. I needed a win, something to shift the momentum. That's when Sarah texted, check the petition, 2,000 signatures. And someone leaked an email from Pinnacle's office. Meet me at the diner. My heart leapt. A leak? This could be the break we needed. At the diner, Sarah slid a printout across the table. It was an email from Whitaker to a Pinnacle exec, marked confidential. Caldwell's a problem, it read. The town's rallying and the county's getting nervous. Recommend accelerating Phase 2 before the appeal period opens. Phase 2? The words chilled me. The wall was Phase 1. What was next to fence around the whole creek? A dam? Sarah's eyes gleamed. This proves they're rushing to avoid scrutiny. We can use it in court. But the email also confirmed my fears. Pinnacle was moving faster than we could. I felt trapped, like a fish in a net I couldn't see. Sarah sensed it. You're not alone, Ethan, she said. Look outside. Through the diner's window, I saw kids taping Save Willow Creek flyers to lampposts. An old man waved, his hat embroidered with a turtle. The town was fighting with me, and I couldn't let them down. That night, I sat Lily down, needing her light to chase my doubts. Tell me about the creek, I said. Why is it special? Her face lit up, words tumbling out, turtles basking, the way the water sparkled, how she felt free there. It's like home, but bigger, she said. Her words were a lifeline, pulling me back. I wasn't fighting for dirt or pride. I was fighting for that feeling for her. I hugged her, promising we'd keep the creek hers. But as she slept, I checked the cams again, paranoia creeping back. The feed was clear, but I couldn't shake the sense that Pinnacle was watching, waiting for me to crack. The next day, I met Jenkins at his cabin, hoping for more dirt on Councilman Reed. He was crankier than before, his dog snarling until he tossed it a bone. Reed's dirty as a pig pen, he grunted. Got a new boat last month, way above his pay grade. Pinnacle's paying him to push this through. He gave me a USB drive with old board meeting minutes, hinting at Reed's ties to developers. Use it wisely, he said. And get a lawyer, not just Tate. Pinnacle's got an army. His warning echoed Claire's, Sarah's, Ortiz's. I was in deep, and the deeper I went, the more I risked. Driving home, I saw a Pinnacle billboard on the highway, Vanguard Estates, your dream awaits. It showed a manicured golf course, no creek in sight. My hands tightened on the wheel. They weren't just stealing land. They were erasing it. I vowed to fight harder, but the weight of that vow pressed heavy, and I wondered how much more I could carry before I broke. Margaret Tate's legal challenge was filed the next morning, a 50-page beast accusing the county of violating public trust laws by selling the creek's access strip without notice. I read it over coffee, my eyes glazing at terms like procedural malfeasance, but Tate's cover letter was blunt. This is step 1. Expect Pinnacle to hit back hard. She wasn't wrong. By noon, a process server knocked on my door, handing me a lawsuit from Vanguard Estates. They claimed I was obstructing lawful development and demanded $100,000 in damages for defamation from my drone videos. The papers shook in my hands, not from fear but fury. They weren't just fighting for land, they were trying to bankrupt me. I called Tate, who laughed. Classic intimidation, she said. They've got no case, but they'll drag it out to bleed you. We need a courtroom win, fast. The hearing was set for a week later, a special session to address our challenge. Tate warned me to expect Pinnacle's lawyers, city sharks with $1,000 suits and no scruples. I spent the days preparing, combing through Jenkins' USB drive. The minutes were gold, a 2023 meeting where Reed pushed a streamlined land sale process after a private dinner with Pinnacle execs. I cross-referenced it with his boat purchase, time-stamped a month later. It wasn't proof, but it was close. Claire helped organize the evidence, her paralegal skills shining. This'll make Reed sweat, she said. But we need a witness. Someone who saw the deal go down. We reached out to Jenkins again, but he balked. I'm too old for court, he grumbled. Find someone younger. His refusal stung, but I understood. He'd given me enough. The courtroom was small, packed with locals, Sarah's activists, and a few Pinnacle suits in the back. Whitaker wasn't there, but his presence loomed in the form of a lawyer named Carla Vance, a woman with a razor-sharp voice and eyes like a hawk. Tate stood beside me, her silver hair a beacon of calm. The judge, a stern man named Hargrove, called order. Tate presented our case. The county's secret sale violated state law, the public deserved an appeal, and Pinnacle's wall was illegal. Vance countered, her voice dripping with disdain. Mr. Caldwell's a vigilante, she said, holding up my drone footage. He's trespassing, defaming a lawful business, and inciting unrest. The sale was legitimate, and his claims are baseless. She produced a stack of documents, deeds, permits, even a letter from Reed claiming the sale was in the public interest. The crowd murmured, and I felt the room tilt. Were we losing? Then Tate dropped a bomb. She presented Jenkins' minutes, highlighting Reed's dinner with Pinnacle. Councilman Reed failed to disclose a conflict of interest, she said. This sale wasn't public, it was personal. The judge's brow furrowed, and Vance's composure cracked, just for a second. Hargrove leaned forward. These are serious allegations, he said. I'll need corroboration. That's when Sarah stood from the gallery, holding a USB drive. Your Honor, I have an email from a county staffer confirming Reed's meeting with Pinnacle. It was sent to me anonymously. The room buzzed. Vance objected, but Hargrove allowed it, ordering a recess to review the evidence. I caught Sarah's eye, her grin fierce. We'd landed a hit, but the fight wasn't over. Outside, locals swarmed me, offering handshakes and coffee. But Pete Larson was there too, his face sour. You're stirring up trouble, he said. Pinnacle's offering jobs. You're costing us. His words cut, echoing my doubts. Was I tearing the town apart? Claire pulled me aside. Ignore him, she said. He's scared of change. You're fighting for what's right. Her words helped, but the lawsuit papers in my truck felt heavier than ever. That night, I got a call from Ben. Reed's panicking, he said. My source says he's meeting Pinnacle tonight. Want to crash it? My heart raced. This was risky, maybe stupid, but we needed proof. I grabbed my drone, called Travis for backup, and headed out. We parked a mile from the restaurant, a ritzy place Pinnacle likely chose for privacy. The drone hummed overhead, its feed showing Reed and Whitaker at a corner table, their faces tense. I couldn't hear them, but their gestures, Reed's nervous fidgeting, Whitaker's sharp nods, screamed guilt. I recorded it all, my hands shaking. Travis whispered, this could end it, man. But as we packed up, headlights swept the road. A black SUV, like Whitaker's, slowed near us. Go. I hissed. We peeled out, my heart in my throat. Had they seen us? Back home, I sent the footage to Tate, who called it circumstantial but damning. The hearing resumed tomorrow, and I felt the noose tightening, not just on Pinnacle, but on me. One wrong move, and I'd lose everything. The hearing's second day was a pressure cooker. Judge Hargrove had reviewed Sarah's email and my drone footage, his face unreadable as he called the court to order. Tate was optimistic, whispering that Reed's ties to Pinnacle could sway the judge. But I was distracted, my mind on the SUV that had tailed us last night. Had Pinnacle spotted the drone? Were they planning something worse than a brick? I scanned the courtroom, half expecting Whitaker to appear, but only Vance was there, her smile sharper than yesterday. The gallery was packed, Lily sitting with Claire, her drawing now a makeshift protest sign. I forced a smile for her, but my gut was screaming. Something was wrong. Tate called a surprise witness, a county clerk named Tim Brody, who'd worked under Reed. Brody was nervous, his tie crooked, but he testified that Reed had pressured staff to fast-track the land sale, bypassing public notice. He said it was for economic urgency, Brody stammered. But I saw him with Pinnacle reps the day before. The crowd gasped, and Vance's pen froze mid-note. Tate pressed Brody. Did Reed disclose any financial ties to Pinnacle? Brody shook his head. Not to us. But he got a new car right after. Hargrove's eyes narrowed, and I felt a spark of hope. We were winning. Then Vance stood, her voice icy. Your Honor, we have a counter-witness. My stomach dropped as Travis walked in, his head bowed. Travis, my friend, the guy who'd pushed me to rally the town. He took the stand, avoiding my eyes. Mr. Caldwell's been reckless, he said, his voice flat. He's trespassed on Vanguard's land, flown drones illegally, and pressured locals to join his crusade. I've seen him intimidate people who support the resort. The room spun. Intimidate? Trespass? Every word was a lie, twisted to paint me as the villain. Lily's face crumpled, and Claire gripped my arm. Tate objected, but Hargrove let Travis finish. I just want what's best for the town, Travis said, his voice breaking. He left the stand, and I felt like I'd been punched. Outside, I cornered him, my voice shaking. Why, Travis? What did they offer you? He looked away, his hands stuffed in his pockets. They paid off my store's debt, he mumbled. Said they'd foreclose if I didn't help. I'm sorry, Ethan. Sorry didn't cut it. His betrayal burned, not just because he'd lied, but because I'd trusted him. Claire pulled me away, her eyes blazing. He's one guy, she said. We've got the town, Brody's testimony, the email. Don't let this break you. But it did. A little. Travis wasn't just a friend. He was a symbol of the community I thought I had. Now I wondered who else might turn. That night, Sarah organized an emergency meeting at her office. Ben was there, along with a new ally, Dr. Elena Ruiz, a biology professor who'd studied Willow Creek's ecosystem. The creek's a habitat for endangered fish, Ruiz said, showing slides of shimmering minnows. Pinnacle's resort would kill them. I'm testifying tomorrow. Her passion steadied me, but Travis' words lingered, gnawing at my confidence. What if the town believed him? What if Hargrove did? I barely slept, rusty snores my only comfort. At dawn, I checked the cams and found nothing, no vandals, no trackers. It was too quiet, like the calm before a storm. The hearing's final day was brutal. Vance hammered Brody, painting him as a disgruntled employee. Tate countered with Ruiz, whose data on the creek's ecosystem silenced the room. But Travis' testimony hung like a cloud. Hargrove adjourned, promising a ruling in 3 days. Outside, locals rallied, chanting "Save Willow Creek," but Pete Larson and a few others stood apart, their signs reading "Jobs Now." The town was splitting, and I felt responsible. That night, Lily crawled into my bed, her voice small. Are we gonna lose, Dad? I held her, promising we wouldn't, but my heart wasn't sure. Travis' betrayal had cracked something in me, and Pinnacle was waiting to exploit it. I needed a miracle, and I needed it fast. The 3 days before Hargrove's ruling were a blur of anxiety and action. Travis' betrayal had shaken me, but the town's response was a lifeline. Sarah's petition hit 10,000 signatures, boosted by Ben's articles and Ruiz's viral op-ed about the creek's endangered fish. Locals flooded my inbox with support, stories of first dates by the creek, kids learning to swim, grandparents teaching grandkids to fish. Each message was a reminder, this wasn't just my fight. It was theirs too. Sarah planned a Willow Creek Day rally to keep the pressure on, set for the day of the ruling. We'll pack the courthouse, she said. Pinnacle needs to see we're not backing down. I agreed, but Travis' face haunted me. Who else might flip? I threw myself into preparations, helping Sarah design flyers and coordinating with Ruiz for a pop-up exhibit about the creek's ecosystem. Lily insisted on helping, painting signs with turtles and fish. Her enthusiasm was a bomb, but I kept her close, Rusty always nearby. The cams caught nothing new, but I wasn't fooled. Pinnacle was too quiet, like a snake coiled to strike. Claire dug deeper into Reed's finances, finding a second payment from a Pinnacle-linked account, buried in a shell company. It's not enough for court, she said, but it's leverage. We can leak it to Ben. I hesitated. Leaks felt like Pinnacle's game, but Claire was adamant. They're playing dirty. We play smart. The leak ran the next day, headlined Councilman's Cozy Pinnacle Payday. Reed issued a denial, but the damage was done. The town was buzzing, and Pinnacle's PR team was scrambling. Willow Creek Day arrived, a sunny morning with a bite of fall in the air. The courthouse lawn was a sea of color, banners, balloons, kids with face-painted turtles. Sarah emceed, her voice booming through a megaphone. Ruiz set up her exhibit, drawing crowds with photos of rare fish. Lily handed out her drawings, her smile brighter than the sun. I spoke, my voice steadier than I felt, telling the crowd about my granddad, the wall, Travis' betrayal. This creaks our heart, I said. Pinnacle can't buy that. The cheers were deafening, but I saw Pete Larson in the crowd, his face grim. He wasn't alone. A dozen others held "Jobs Now" signs, their eyes hard. Pinnacle's promise of jobs was splitting us, and I felt the fracture like a physical ache. Hargrove's ruling came at noon. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with tension. He cleared his throat, his voice gravelly. The county's sale violated public trust laws, he said. No notice, no appeal period. The transfer to Crestview Holdings is nullified, pending a public hearing. The room erupted, locals hugging, Sarah pumping her fist. Tate grabbed my arm, her eyes shining. We won, Ethan. But Hargrove wasn't done. However, Vanguard's wall stands until ownership is clarified. And Mr. Caldwell ceased drone activity on private property. My heart sank. The wall stayed, and my best tool was grounded. Then smirked, whispering to her team. They'd lost the sale, but they weren't out. Outside, the rally turned into a celebration with music and food trucks. Lily danced with friends, Rusty barking at balloons. But I felt hollow. The wall was still there, a scar on the creek. And Pinnacle's lawsuit against me loomed, a $100,000 sword over my head. Ben pulled me aside, his notebook out. Reed's resigning, he said. My source says he's cutting a deal to avoid charges. You did this, Ethan. I nodded, but Travis' betrayal and Pete's glare weighed heavy. The town was united, but not whole. That night, I sat by the creek, Rusty at my side, and wondered if winning the sale was enough. Pinnacle was wounded, but they weren't dead, and I had a feeling their next move would hit where it hurt most. Hargrove's ruling was a victory, but it felt like winning a battle only to see the war stretch on. The wall stood, a mocking reminder of Pinnacle's grip, and their lawsuit against me hung like a storm cloud. I spent the next morning poring over Tate's notes, looking for a way to dismantle the wall legally. She'd warned that Pinnacle would appeal, dragging this out for months, maybe years. My savings were dwindling, the cabin's mortgage a constant pressure. Lily sensed my stress, drawing quieter pictures, her turtles looking sadder. I needed a knockout punch, something to end this before Pinnacle bled me dry. Claire called with a lead. I found a loophole in Pinnacle's contract with the county, she said. The sale included a clause: if the land's use violates environmental regulations, the deal's void. Ruiz's data on the creek's fish could trigger it. My heart raced. The endangered minnows weren't just a talking point. They were a weapon. I called Ruiz, who was already drafting a report for the state's environmental board. Pinnacle's resort would disrupt spawning grounds, she said. I've got water samples showing sediment risks from their construction. If we file a complaint, the state could halt everything. It was a long shot, but it was hope. I met Ruiz at the creek, where she collected more samples, her waders splashing in the shallows. Rusty bounded nearby, chasing dragonflies, while I filmed her work for evidence. The wall loomed, its camera dome glinting like a taunt. I resisted the urge to fly the drone. A Hargrove's warning was clear, but I felt naked without it. As we worked, a pickup truck slowed on the road, its driver staring. Not Whitaker, but the hard-hat guy from my first meeting with him. He didn't stop, but his gaze was a warning. They're watching, Ruiz said, her voice low. We need to move fast. Back home, I sent her footage to Sarah, who posted it with a call to action: protect our fish, stop Pinnacle. The post hit 30,000 views, and the state's environmental board confirmed they'd review our complaint. Momentum was building, but so was my fear. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered, expecting Whitaker, but it was a woman, her voice shaky. Ethan, it's Marla, from the county office. I found something in the archives. Meet me tomorrow, alone. My pulse spiked. Marla, the clerk who'd given me the memorandum? Why the secrecy? I agreed, but Claire was skeptical when I told her. Could be a setup, she said. Take Rusty, record everything. The next morning, I met Marla at a park outside town, Rusty growling at joggers. She handed me a folder, her hands trembling. This was buried in old files, she said. A 1995 survey showing the creek's access strip is part of a protected watershed. The county never had the right to sell it. I stared at the yellowed map, its lines marking the creek as untouchable. This wasn't just a loophole, it was a kill shot. I rushed the survey to Tate, who called it a game changer. She filed an emergency motion to present it at the public hearing, now set for next week. But Pinnacle wasn't idle. That afternoon, Ben texted, Pinnacle's holding a press conference. They're offering community benefits, a park, scholarships. It's a bribe. I watched the live stream, Whitaker's smile oily as he promised jobs and green spaces. Some locals cheered, Pete Larson front and center. My heart sank. Pinnacle was buying loyalty, and it was working. That night, Lily asked, Are we still winning, Dad? I hugged her, but my answer felt hollow. The survey was a weapon, but Pinnacle's money was a shield. I needed the town to see the truth, and I needed it now, before the hearing tipped the scales. The public hearing was a powder keg, the courthouse overflowing with locals, reporters, and Pinnacle's PR team in crisp suits. Tate had submitted Marla's survey and Ruiz's environmental report, arguing the creek's access strip was untouchable. Pinnacle countered with a glossy presentation, promising a sustainable resort and a $2 million community fund. Whitaker spoke, his voice smooth, painting me as a selfish loner blocking progress. Pete Larson and his group clapped, their jobs now signs bobbing. I felt the town slipping, lured by Pinnacle's cash. But Sarah's activists were louder, their Save Willow Creek banners a sea of green. Lily sat with Claire, her drawing taped to her chair, Rusty at her feet. I gripped Tate's folder, the survey my last hope. Judge Hargrove opened the floor, and Tate went first, her voice steady. The 1995 survey proves the creek's access is a protected watershed, she said, projecting the map. The county's sale was illegal, and Pinnacle's wall violates state law. The crowd murmured, and Hargrove leaned forward, studying the survey. Then stood, her tone mocking. This is a desperate ploy, she said. Mr. Caldwell's found a dusty paper and thinks it's a trump card. Our resort will preserve the creek, not harm it. She showed artist renderings of a manicured park, the creek reduced to a decorative stream. My stomach twisted. They were rewriting the creek's soul. Then came the surprise. Marla took the stand, unannounced, her voice shaking but clear. I found the survey in a locked cabinet, she said. Someone hid it to push the sale. I saw Reed with Pinnacle's lawyers the day it was approved. The room exploded, locals shouting, Vance objecting. Hargrove banged his gavel, but Marla kept going. I'm retiring next month. I can't stay quiet anymore. Her courage stunned me, a clerk risking everything for the truth. Hargrove silenced the room, his face grim. This changes things, he said. I'm ordering an investigation into the county's actions. The wall comes down, effective immediately. Cheers erupted, Sarah hugging Ruiz, Lily jumping in her seat. Vance's face was stone, but Whitaker, in the back, slipped out, his phone already to his ear. Outside, the celebration spilled onto the lawn, locals chanting Willow Creek's ours. Ben live-streamed, his camera catching Lily waving her drawing. But I saw Pete, his sign discarded, his face conflicted. I approached him, extending a hand. No hard feelings, I said. He shook it, muttering, didn't know about the survey. It wasn't peace, but it was a start. That night, I watched the wall's first stones fall, a backhoe tearing through like paper. Lily clapped, Rusty barked, and I felt the creek breathe again. But Pinnacle's lawsuit against me remained, a lingering threat. They'd lost the land, but they could still ruin me. I vowed to fight on, knowing the town had my back, and that was worth more than any corporate bribe. The wall was gone, reduced to a pile of rubble hauled away by county trucks. Willow Creek sparkled again, its banks free, the public trail open to all. I stood by the water, Lily skipping stones, her laughter echoing like music. The town was healing, the hearing's fallout rippling. Reed resigned, facing a corruption probe, and Pinnacle's community fund vanished with their credibility. Ben's articles kept the pressure on, and Sarah's petition became a local legend, framed at the diner. But Pinnacle's lawsuit against me lingered, a $100,000 shadow. Tate was confident we'd win, but legal fees were eating my savings. I hid the stress from Lily, but Claire saw through me. You saved the creek, she said. Don't let them steal your peace. We organized a creek cleanup, a community event to celebrate the victory. Locals showed up with gloves and trash bags, kids planting wildflowers, Ruiz leading tours about the fish. Lily ran a lemonade stand, donating the cash to Sarah's group. I grilled burgers, Rusty stealing scraps, and for the first time in months, I felt light. Pete Larson came, quieter now, helping clear debris. Didn't see the whole picture, he said, almost an apology. I nodded, offering him a burger. The town wasn't fully united, but it was knitting together, stitch by stitch. That night, we lit a bonfire, sharing stories of the creek, first kisses, lost fishing lures, skinny dipping dares. Lily told hers about finding a turtle she named Bubbles. The crowd cheered, and I saw my dad's smile in her face, the creek's legacy alive. But Pinnacle wasn't done. A week later, I got a letter from their lawyers, offering to drop the lawsuit if I signed a non-disclosure agreement. No admission of guilt, just silence. Tate laughed. They're scared of more leaks, she said. Rejected. I did, but the move showed their desperation. They were retreating, but not surrendering. Sarah suggested a final push, a documentary about the fight, crowdfunded by the town. Ben loved it, already scouting filmmakers. I hesitated, wary of the spotlight, but Lily was all in. Let's tell the world, Dad, she said. Her fire was contagious, and I agreed, knowing the creek story deserved to be heard. The documentary idea sparked new energy. Locals donated, kids made posters, and Ruiz offered scientific narration. I gave interviews, reliving the brick, the graffiti, Travis betrayal. It hurt, but it healed too, like lancing a wound. The creek was safe, but its future depended on vigilance. I installed solar lights along the trail, donated by Travis Store, a quiet amends. The town named me Creek Keeper, an honorary title with no pay but all the pride. As winter loomed, I sat by the creek, Lily asleep, Rusty snoring. The water whispered, and I knew we'd won more than land. We'd won a story, one that would outlast us all. Winter settled over Willow Creek, the water icing at the edges, the willow bare but standing tall. The documentary was in production, with Ben's crew filming interviews and drone shots of the creek's sparkling bends. Locals pitched in, sharing old photos and stories, turning the fight into a tapestry of memory. Pinnacle's lawsuit was dismissed after Tate filed a counterclaim, citing their illegal wall. The judge called their case frivolous, and I felt a weight lift, though my bank account was bruised. The town was quieter now, the jobs now signs gone. Pete Larson a regular at cleanups. But I stayed vigilant, checking cams, knowing Pinnacle's kind never truly quits. One frosty morning, I was splitting wood when a familiar SUV pulled up. Whitaker stepped out, no suit this time, just a parka and jeans, his face tired. Rusty growled, but I called him off, curious. Not here to fight, Whitaker said, hands raised. I'm leaving Pinnacle. Wanted to clear the air. I leaned on my axe, skeptical. Clear what? You tried to steal my creek. He sighed, looking at the water. It wasn't personal. Just business. But you fought harder than we expected. He pulled a small box from his pocket, handing it to me. Inside was a brass plaque. Willow Creek, forever free. Meant to put it on the resort, he said. Keep it. You earned it. I studied him, searching for a trick, but his eyes were empty, like a man who'd lost his script. Why now? I asked. He shrugged. Pinnacle's moving to greener pastures. I'm done with their games. Good luck, Caldwell. He drove off, and I stood there, the plaque cold in my hand. Was it guilt? A peace offering? I didn't trust it, but I kept it, nailing it to the willow's base, hidden from view. A reminder that even enemies can falter. Lily saw it, tilting her head. He's sorry, huh? She said. Maybe, I replied. But the creek's still ours. She nodded, tossing a stone into the water, its ripples a promise. That night, I hosted a documentary screening, a rough cut for the town. The diner was packed, kids on the floor, Rusty stealing popcorn. The film showed the wall, the protests, Marla's testimony, Lily's drawings. When it ended, the room clapped, some crying. Sarah hugged me, Ben shook my hand, and Pete raised a glass. To the creek, he said, and we drank. The fight had scarred us, but it had bound us too. I went home, the plaques weighed in my mind. Whitaker was gone, but the creek remained, its story now a beacon for others. I slept soundly, Rusty at my feet. Knowing we'd guarded more than water, we'd guarded hope. Spring came to Willow Creek, the ice melting, the willow budding green. The documentary premiered at a regional festival, winning an audience award and streaming deals. Locals beamed, seeing their fight on screen, Lily's Turtles a star feature. The creek was a landmark now, with a new trail sign. Creek Keeper's Path, protected by community. I walked it daily, Rusty chasing squirrels, Lily sketching by the water. The town was whole again, cleanup's a monthly ritual, Pete leading a kids' fishing club. Pinnacle was a ghost, their billboards gone, their name a cautionary tale. My savings were recovering, thanks to a crowdfunding campaign Sarah launched to cover legal fees. But the real wealth was the creek, its ripples carrying our story. I upgraded the trail with benches, each carved with a local's name, Marla, Sarah, Ruiz, even Travis, who'd apologized with a year's supply of hardware. The plaque from Whitaker stayed hidden, a private lesson in redemption. One evening, I got a letter from the state, naming Willow Creek a protected waterway, safe from future grabs. I read it to Lily, her eyes wide. Forever? She asked. Forever, I said, and we celebrated with a campfire, roasting marshmallows, the creek glinting under stars. Claire joined, bringing her new bakery's cookies, her dream now real. You did this, she said. I shook my head. We did. The creek taught me more than I'd expected. It wasn't just land or water, it was time, memory, the thread tying us to each other. I saw it in Lily's sketches, in the couples holding hands by the willow, in the kids learning to fish. The fight had been brutal, but it forged something stronger than stone. I sat by the water one morning, Rusty snoring, and thought of my dad, his words about memory. He'd be proud, not just of me but of the town, of Lily, of the creek that carried his lessons. The battle was over, but its echoes would live in every ripple, every story told here. And that's the tale of Willow Creek, Folks, a story of one man, one girl, one dog, and a town that refused to let greed win. Thanks for sticking with me through every twist, every stone, every skipped heartbeat. You've been the best company, and I hope this story reminds you to fight for what matters, to hold tight to your own creeks, whatever they may be. Until next time, keep your eyes on the water and your heart in the fight.